surprised my wife with divorce papers at her secret hotel getaway affair. Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. This is a long and messy story. Sorry for any errors, as I'm writing on my phone. I've reached the end of my rope and have no idea how to navigate this mess. A bit of background. I'm 43, my wife is 40, and we've been married for 16 years. We have 2 kids, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. Our marriage started off rocky, but we worked through those tough years and emerged stronger. We got married young, so our maturity levels were a bit uneven, but we loved each other deeply and believed we could overcome anything that came our way. Looking back, I'm not sure if that was wishful thinking. Anyway, my wife has been the manager of a major advertising company for 3 years, and I've been in engineering for 7. Both of our jobs paid well, providing our family with a comfortable lifestyle. We were a close-knit family, always making time for our kids to create lasting memories, no matter how busy life got. I consider myself a good dad and husband. I've made mistakes along the way, but I would do anything for this woman. It honestly shattered me to my core when I discovered that she was involved in a long-term affair. This brings me to the moment I made the discovery. My wife had been acting distant, especially over the last 2 years. She stopped showing interest in anything I did and kept comparing me to her boss. I now realize why. Her boss seemed to handle everything better than I did. He took initiative to make her feel special, while I often struggled to understand what she wanted. I tried asking her what she needed, how to spice up our relationship. Her response? Don't ask. You should already know. So I read books, researched, and did my best. But nothing seemed to satisfy her. Every attempt I made was met with either half-hearted appreciation or bitter disappointment. She wasn't like this in the past, and it made me question what I was doing wrong. Little did I know I wasn't the one who needed fixing. We were very close with her boss and his wife. They had kids too, and our families often spent time together. Barbecues, family outings, game days at the arcade, we shared countless memories. It felt natural to confide in her boss about our marital struggles. He gave good advice, and I thought he was a great guy. But back to the discovery. I grew emotionally exhausted from constantly trying to meet her demands. I was shocked by her attitude because I believed we had a great marriage. One night, I noticed her laughing and giggling while texting someone. I was lying next to her in bed, curious, and when I leaned in to see who it was, she quickly pulled away and snapped at me. She told me it wasn't my business and retreated to the bathroom. That was the moment I knew deep down that something was off, but I didn't have any solid proof. I made the mistake of asking her directly the next day. She was furious and denied everything. I didn't have access to her phone, but I desperately wanted to find the truth. Eventually, she reluctantly handed it over, only to delete almost every message sent to certain people. Some conversations were inconsistent, and others downright ridiculous. I gave her the phone back, and we didn't speak about it until a month later. That's when I got a friend to help recover the deleted texts. She had since gotten a new phone and barely used the one she gave me. Bits and pieces of conversations were pieced together, and I finally had the proof I needed, an affair with her boss. I knew that confronting her right away would only lead to her weaseling out of it somehow. So I bided my time. The situation was a wreck. I cried in front of my friend, worrying about how it would affect the kids. I still didn't want to give up on the marriage. So, 3 days later, I bought a book titled How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. Yes, I know you might be shaking your head. I read it, hoping it would make her realize the damage and stop this nonsense. I planned to talk to her that Saturday to work things out, but she had. She told me there was an emergency at work and asked me not to wait up for her. Of course, I contacted her workplace the next day to verify her story, but they were closed on Saturdays. I couldn't reach her by phone either. She returned home at 2 a.m. on Sunday, immediately showered, and then came to bed. I asked her why she was so late, and she dodged the question by saying she had already told me not to wait for her. I was fed up. I didn't even give her the book I had brought, the one meant to help her understand what we were going through. I was suffering, and she didn't seem to care. That's when I reached out to her boss's wife to see if she knew anything. I was desperate for some kind of stability, And to this day, I don't regret doing that. She was just as shocked as I was when we shared what we knew. She wanted to confront her husband, but I warned her he'd probably lie and try to cover it up, just like my wife did. We met at her house to discuss everything, and I shared the limited evidence I had. She wanted more, so we both began gathering more proof on our sides and comparing what we found. It was easy for her to gather undeniable evidence. Her husband was so arrogant he didn't even bother deleting the texts between him and my wife. The earlier messages I found finally made sense, and we pieced together the full picture. The affair had been going on for 2 years. Both of us were furious, her boss's wife and I. They were reckless, sleeping together everywhere. At her house, my house, expensive hotels, and even during business trips. It was sickening to read through all of that. We decided to ignore the explicit photos exchanged to save ourselves from the added emotional torment. We both wanted revenge, but not to repeat the cycle of betrayal. So, we drew up divorce papers around the same time, dead set on it. Our spouses didn't know that we knew everything, so we played along. By the time they figured out what was happening, we blindsided them, just like they blindsided us. I personally went with the sheriff to serve my wife. She arrived in a bathrobe, looking utterly confused. The sheriff asked for confirmation of her identity, and she answered hesitantly. The moment she was served, her face went blank with shock. I didn't want to rub it in, so I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm and pulled me back, frantically demanding to know what I was doing there. I told her calmly, "You had an affair, and I'm leaving you." She started screaming and yanking my arm hard. The sheriff had to step in and order her to release me. Afterward, she broke down in tears, insisting she could explain everything and that it was her fault. I was too angry to listen, so I left quickly to return home. My wife immediately called her boss, who rushed home in panic. He was served there too, and we didn't give them a chance to clean up their mess. My divorce will be finalized in a few months, while hers is taking a bit longer. Both my wife and her boss are fighting the divorces tooth and nail. They keep making excuses, saying it was just a purely sexual affair, that people have worse relationships but still manage to stay together. They want a chance to unfuck the situation, as they put it. I asked my wife what she thought the outcome of this would be. She said she was going along with the flow and acted completely out of character. I told her she was an idiot for thinking that excuses would fix everything. People around me call me bitter and resentful for not giving her another chance. My kids understand the situation to an age-appropriate degree and support me fully, though they wish we could stay together. My resolve is weakening, though. We still live under the same roof, and she's attending therapy and reading the book I gave her. It's becoming harder to stand firm. She claims she's truly remorseful and willing to do whatever it takes. But all I tell her is that her apology comes too late, and that's all I need to know. She's called me bitter and resentful, accusing me of holding on to negativity. Later, she apologized, but I know how she really feels. Her boss's wife and I still talk, and my wife absolutely hates it. She fears that I'll have some sort of revenge affair or that her boss's wife is fueling my resolve not to give her another chance. She's begged me repeatedly to cut contact with her boss's wife, just as she did with her boss. I told her she's crazy. We didn't do anything wrong, and I see no reason to respect her opinions now. I think I'm done. I have no respect left for her. She continues to fight for my attention, but I refuse to engage in her excuses. She wants us to go to therapy together, but I've read countless places where the therapists seem to blame the victim, so I thought, hell no. She wants me to read infidelity books with her, but what's the point if we're divorcing anyway? She says it's not manipulation, just a way to show me how much she loves me. I corrected her, saying, "Love me now, not later." People around me are frustrated, my mom too, because they believe people make mistakes. My wife realizes through her mistakes that she truly loves me. I tell people I'll never be anyone's fallback plan. I still love her even though there's hate there. Am I being unnecessarily cruel? She's trying really hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People say I'm moving too quickly and will regret it. I don't know what's real and what's not. Edit. Thank you all for taking the time to respond to my situation. I've read all your comments and some of you raised important points. I will be having a discussion with my wife shortly and will keep you updated. However, I truly believe divorce is the best route for both me and my kids. Update. Okay, I'm back again. I've been receiving countless emails asking for an update, so here it is. Thanks for your concern and understanding. Firstly, my wife and I are in a sort of good place right now, but it's not because we're reconciling. I'm still divorcing her. The last update I posted, which was removed by the automod, detailed our situation extensively. The short version. My wife is still begging for another chance and doing everything she can to earn it. I won't give it to her. Her affair lasted way too long for me to ever move past. 2 years is a slap in the face. I did attend a few therapy sessions with her, not because I want to save the marriage but to see her progress. One session was productive and made me realize that my wife is genuinely remorseful. She hasn't been perfect in handling the fallout of her affair, but she's been making significant efforts. The second session was intense, though. She was furious when I continued to contact her boss's wife and expressed fears of a revenge affair. That was the angriest I've been throughout this entire ordeal. We argued a lot, but the issue was resolved when I promised her there would be no revenge affair. I've continued attending therapy sessions to observe her progress, though I'll step away after the divorce is finalized. The boss's wife is still leaving her husband, and her husband is fighting her every step of the way. We talk and confide in each other on tough days, but we remain just friends. Nothing more. My kids are handling everything well. They understand, in an age-appropriate way, that divorce doesn't mean we love them any less. They don't want us to divorce, but they understand why it's necessary. My wife resigned from the advertisement company shortly after I served her divorce papers. She now works elsewhere and has had strictly no contact with her former boss. According to her, she reached out to forums seeking help to save the marriage. I've been reading a lot here, and initially I didn't understand why people stayed with adulterers. But seeing how hard my wife is working to better herself, I understand the temptation. She's not a monster, just flawed, making horrible choices she's now learning to overcome. She's offered me everything under the sun to win back another chance. But I'm not sure I have it in me to forgive her. As the divorce approaches finalization, I feel more at peace. We recently had a long discussion about her asking for a chance after the divorce. She offered a post-divorce relationship, but it would be an incredibly long road for her to travel before I could even consider it. She seems willing, but I don't see how that would benefit any of us. A huge part of me wants this divorce because of a sense of justice. It's the only justice I can get without lowering myself to become an adulterer. My mom and I made up after I shared more about the affair. However, now she's absolutely furious with my wife after learning the full extent of everything. I don't know how to navigate that situation, especially with my kids caught in the middle. Rant. Okay. I didn't want to post here until the divorce was finalized, but I'm just pissed off today and needed to vent. As many of you know, my wife is paranoid about a revenge affair because I'm still in contact with and see the other woman she betrayed. My wife is very insecure compared to other betrayed spouses. She believes my relationship with her boss's wife threatens her sanity, but I don't see it that way. That's how it's spelled. Other betrayed spouse is younger, a model, very attractive, and owns a successful business. It makes my wife paranoid that I'll give in to temptation and cheat on her as revenge. I still can't believe the nerve of her to give me the two wrongs don't make a right speech. Of course, she isn't wrong, and I have no intention of ever following through. But her hypocrisy infuriates me every time. Every time I visit the other betrayed spouse, like yesterday, she gets extremely sad or clingy. I don't know how many times she's thrown herself at me just to make sure I don't cheat back. I reject her advances, and it only makes things worse. It absolutely floors me that cheaters are this selfish, only thinking about themselves and their pain while the betrayed have to trudge along and try to pick up the pieces. Another thing, our kids still see their kids. I never go to the other betrayed spouse without my kids. But no, my wife still thinks I have it in me to be as heartless as she was and sees any opportunity to sleep with the woman. Laughable. Oh, and the ex-husband is still living in their holiday home, begging the other betrayed spouse to take him back. I'm not going to lie, It brings me a sense of great satisfaction to see him suffer the consequences. He hasn't tried to threaten me because of how much leverage I have over him. He has to face the fact that I'm still in contact with his wife. He is allowed to visit his kids anytime he wants, but he avoids me at all costs, ensuring I'm not around when he visits. I pity the guy honestly. Currently, my wife has been super apologetic. She has showered me with affection, which I simply brush off. I'm not in a good place. We're having a therapy session today, and I feel like unloading all the pain and hurt I've endured because of her. The rage I feel is becoming overwhelming. Update while checking in. Nothing new to report, but there have been a few developments. Reviewing my posts and messages has made me realize what a great community this is. Supporting people like us. I've been reading a lot about infidelity to better understand my situation. During a recent therapy session with my wife, she requested more time to win me back. She had reason after reason why it would be a good idea to at least try and see if we could recover, not necessarily reconcile yet. I repeatedly brought up the fact that she's only trying now because of the fallout of her affair. She would never be trying if she was still seeing the other man. She emotionally abused me for months, and I'm not the type of person to get walked over, even by the woman I loved. She acknowledged all her wrongdoings and apologized again. She's made countless promises to make it up to me. She wants our marriage to grow stronger than ever before and believes it's possible. I asked her if she was willing to put up with my rage because I have plenty to spare. She said absolutely, and she would like me to unload on her whenever I feel the need to process the pain. Usually, when I ask her why she had an affair, I get a million excuses. This time, she was forthright. She told me there was no excuse for what she did, and she would spend every day for the rest of her life showing me through her actions that she was truly remorseful and would never hurt me that way again. She actually opened up to me emotionally, which helped me understand a bit more about her. She was very insecure and jealous of the other betrayed spouse. The affair inflated her ego, and she enjoyed feeling beautiful and desired. She admitted that the affair was a fantasy that would never last. She hardly thought about the consequences at the time, but she regrets it deeply. She says she'll live with this guilt forever and can never hold a candle to the other betrayed spouse. The reason she was so sure I would cheat back is because the other betrayed spouse is not only beautiful but also a woman of integrity. Not once has she ever said a mean thing or threatened her. It was all my wife's insecurities, coupled with my anger towards her betrayal. Here's where it gets interesting. The therapist asked me what it would take to reconsider my wife's proposal. Nothing came to mind. I was honest and told her a time machine because what I have now is a sham of a marriage, and I never signed up for it. The therapist told me that all marriages face problems ranging from infidelity to death, but it's how those problems are dealt with that shows the strength of a marriage. I honestly couldn't believe where this conversation was headed, so I told the therapist to focus on my wife, not us. During the drive home, my wife and I had a long talk. She asked if I felt emasculated due to her affair, something she had never asked before. I was genuinely surprised by the question. I answered yes. She shocked me by asking if I would feel better if I slept with another woman. I again told her I'm not, nor will I ever, have a revenge affair. She explained that she was talking about a trial separation where I go out and get my mojo back. She will remain faithful and wait until I'm good and ready to come back to the marriage. I thought she was desperate before, but I found her proposal absolutely crazy. I asked her how that would benefit the marriage in any way for both people to be having affairs. She told me mine wouldn't be an affair because we would be separated with conditions aligning with my freedom to see other people in place. I told her that's a huge risk on her part, and she responded that we were getting divorced anyway, so if this doesn't help us, at least she could see what the outside world has to offer. I obviously rejected the idea because it seemed way out of character for her to propose that. My wife has been strangely calm and patient these past few weeks, like a different person from the crazy, insecure one. Of course, I know not to trust her for my own sake. It's very difficult, though. Even though she doesn't want it, she has been generous in the divorce. I've read many times where divorces get nasty, but not mine. It feels quite unreal to be in this situation. It's difficult to navigate. Edit to add. Let me make it clear. I'm still going fully through with the divorce. I'm interested in hearing people's opinions on this. Update. Hello again, everyone. I have another update in this sorry state of my life. Before I get into that, I'd like to thank the people who have continuously reached out to me in support. So currently, my wife and I have decided to be civil and spend the holidays together as a family. It will be the last holiday that will ever happen, although my wife is still hoping otherwise. I wanted to do this for our kids' sake. I love my kids. Our divorce will be finalized in the middle of February, for those curious. We have split everything half and half, although she has been very generous with her side. I still don't know if it's a tactic, and she might turn nasty later, but so far, she has been nice and confessed that it's because I have been a great husband and father. So, she feels I should get a more than fair divorce. That is not to say that she will lose a lot out of the divorce, but I do get slightly more thanks to her. I have decided to stop going to therapy with her because it was giving her false hope and sending mixed signals. She has confessed that she has a burning desire to be intimate with me. Throughout the time I've been absent, her understanding that I felt emasculated and undesirable thanks to her affair. She has been frequently trying to engage me in sex. In all honesty, my wife hardly initiated sex before all this, so I found it upsetting that she was doing it now. Over time, I grew to appreciate the fact that she saw this as a hang-up of mine and wanted to address it. I've rejected her though, but she still persists adamantly, stating that this has nothing to do with reconciliation. She just wants me to feel good and desired. I've cut off contact with the other betrayed spouse for now because things were getting a little too personal for my liking. To the person who pointed out that I was having a revenge affair, I guess you weren't far off. I didn't even realize it myself until the other betrayed spouse confessed that she does want to try and see where this relationship between us goes. She stated that she would wait for my divorce to be finalized before we tried anything. I was very confused and had no answer for her. So we have decided to take a break from being around each other until everything is sorted out. Other betrayed spouse is an attractive woman, but I don't know if I can return her feelings. I don't know how to handle that at all. Someone insinuated that being around the other betrayed spouse is affecting her possible reconciliation with her husband. I assure you that I have nothing to do with her decision to leave her husband. She is done with him and that's all her. We do not talk badly about our spouses when we're around each other. Recently, her ex-husband met me in person to apologize for everything that happened. He was always an arrogant guy, and this experience really humbled him. I did not accept his apology. Call me petty, but I don't give a shit about what he's going through. I have a question. Is it okay for me to have sex with my wife even if we're not reconciling? I have to admit I miss having sex. I miss the intimacy and closeness of it all. My wife is eager and has been trying everything possible to initiate it. New lingerie, sexting, touching, letters, etc. And sometimes I find it hard to resist. She even threw away, burned, and replaced anything that had to do with her affair with him in my house without me asking her to because frankly, I just didn't care to know exactly where they had sex. It's not easy for me to switch off these feelings. Is this a trap? Am I being played? Before someone says, kick her out of the house. I have already tried that, and I want her here because it's less of a hassle until the divorce is done. Me advice on how to deal with this situation. I finally understand that I deserve better than her. She screwed me over, put me down, and made me feel less than when another man showed her attention. She literally invested her energy in another dude. I can't believe I'm finally coming to terms that I'm over her. Only now she does whatever it takes to keep me. Now she's investing her energy in us. Now she wants me to be happy. When she didn't give a damn before, now she wants to be this adventurous person in sex with me. The sex we had was never mind-blowing, but I liked it. Now I see how much I've missed out on through her text with OM. I know just the tip of the iceberg how graphic their trials were. Now she wants to show me just how much she loves me when admittedly she has been quite lazy before. The lazy sex speaks volumes to me. Now she gives me space and is happy and supportive of anything I do when before it was all about giving her attention and providing for her. At the same time now she values my boundaries and goes above and beyond to add to them. Now she Sees me as the king I wished she saw me as before, but no, I had to smack her off her pedestal first. Now she's the ideal woman, but it seems fleeting to me now. She is completely transparent with me about everything. She is brutally honest too, even if it will upset me or embarrass herself. I don't think I've ever seen any woman with a constant look of shame on her face before she wishes this affair never happened. I can see how much she kicks herself every day. I can see the hopelessness on her face when I'm just not receptive to anything she does. She looks so miserable, especially when she tries to hide it. It makes me hate myself sometimes, but to me it's necessary. Why can't I see this as a positive thing? Why can't I judge her for her actions now? They show remorse, right? Many people have voltas and come out even stronger than before, right? Why am I basing my decisions off emotion and not a place of mature objectification? Someone else will end up getting the better and improved version of her while I venture into another uncertain relationship. Why not fight for this when everything seems to point to something good in a future? These are the lines I've been given, and I have one answer: I will not accept disrespect. Maybe I was willing to in the early stages of discovery, but I woke up from that quickly. This is to answer the people who have me and regularly asked about my situation. I'm going to enjoy this Christmas with my entire family and then move on. For my wife, I decided to stop listening to the nonsense I created in my head to keep my wife's control over me and move on entirely from the idea of her. I will not be dating her or giving us another chance. We are over for good. I like to say that my wife isn't a villain, and that is true. I want her to be happy as well, but it will never be with me. She has shown me that I've called other betrayed spouse today and offered her dinner after the holidays for her support when I absolutely hit rock bottom. She said she would love to. I know this stuff doesn't happen often, but we really supported each other throughout all of this, and I owe her thanks. Before people start talking about how much I planned this with OBS, I honestly did not. My emotions have been so screwed up this few years that the very thought of another woman never crossed my mind, and it's dinner, nothing else, unless we both want it. But the closer divorce gets, the more I realize I actually have options, and one option has been right there. What about OM? I don't give a flying FK about the dude. I do not think I will marry again, and I will tell this to any woman. Although my divorce hasn't been much of a hassle, I am losing a lot of money still. The whole idea of marriage just seems like a sham to me now. Sorry for being so cynical right now. I don't want this post to offend anyone, but I'm still jaded. I gave my best years to this woman, and I'm starting to realize how little I got back. Happy holidays. You won't be hearing from me for a while. Update: officially divorced. It's been a long time coming. I did mention before that I would come back and update for the last time here. It's over. My ex and I have officially separated for good. It happened almost 3 weeks ago. For the better part of a few days after the fact, I grieved like I lost a loved one. I think it hit me extremely hard that my marriage failed so spectacularly. Never cried that hard ever since I discovered the affair in the first place. I raged a lot too. Definitely one of my lowest points. Everything has been organized for my ex, partially on my part. For the kids' sake, she moved out of the house, and I'm looking to buy her out of her part of it. She lives in an apartment now. Very big downgrade for her, and it pretty much depresses her. She is still going to the therapist, still invested in reading and studying. Infidelity, don't know exactly why. We've had long talks leading to an after the divorce minimal physical contact. I know I shouldn't entertain her now, but she's still the mother of my kids, and I want us to be good co-parents. I'm nothing if not logical about the situation, largely thanks to this community and others. Of course, it's the same tune. She wants to reconcile, and I think it's too risky for me to put myself in that situation again. Unfortunately, I'm not in the mood to give her that gift. This past weekend, I accompanied other betrayed spouse to dinner with no intention than enjoying each other's company and chatting. We talked about all sorts of things. Things got flirty between us, and I must admit I was very reluctant to entertain the rapidly changing mood. Well, I guess I should say the night ended in a very passionate way. Sorry for TMI. It was probably the most mind-blowing sex I've ever had. OBS is very much a giver, and spades above my ex. I did not intend for it go that far, but other betrayed spouse who I willing and I was as well learned quite a few more tricks in the sack. LOL, first time I ever had someone that enthusiastic to please me, and not the other way around. Guess I shouldn't call her other betrayed spouse anymore, as she divorced her ex, but for privacy's sake I'll just use that. I do not think we will take our relationship further. To be honest, I think the hormones and wine got the best of us that night. She would like to, but I am undecided. I need to sort myself out emotionally, and I think she does as well. I feel very good, though people might not like hearing this, but the sex I had with other betrayed spouse really helped a lot with my residual self-esteem issues. I felt desired, alive, and finally understood what I was missing out on. I will never settle for robotic sex again. What was more satisfying was knowing that I was not cheating and did not lower my morals. All things considered, I'm very proud of how I handled all this crap. I wasn't perfect, but did the best I could. I'm probably coming out very lucky compared to many BHS, even if I did lose a substantial amount of money in this process, but it was because I was willing to absorb advice and listen to people with experience instead of going in blind and hoping for the best. For that, I will be forever grateful to you guys. You and everyone who let me an ear, saved me from destroying my self-worth. Even further takeaways: respect yourself. Never ever accept disrespect from anyone else, not even people closest to you. Everyone deserve a healthy, fulfilling relationship. Never settle for scraps from your partner. Every committed relationship should include a healthy and fulfilling sex life. If your partner is not giving his/her all to you but did so before with someone else, or in an affair, do not tolerate it. I'm not advocating sexual abuse or rape. Simply lay out your dissatisfaction. If your partner isn't willing to meet them, do not settle for boring sex unless you both agree on it. It is okay to walk away from that. Communicate. I cannot stress how super important that is. If you're ever betrayed, only you can truly heal yourself. It took a long time for me to understand this. There are many more, but that's all I can think of right now. I'll be available to answer comments that you may have, but in about a few hours from now I'm done posting here for good and moving on with my life. Have a good one, everyone. Update: things are May right now. Hey guys, I've been getting a ton of emails from people who wanted to know how my situation is going. I've been purposely staying away from anything involving infidelity because I still get the trigger here and there. With that in mind, I'm still dealing with a trauma. I don't like to dwell too much on something, so I've been away from this site and others and a bid to move on. However, since there are so many people concerned about me, I will ease your worries and give you an update. I'm okay, no accidents, no poof, I'm off the face of the earth. I'm still an IC. Other betrayed spouse: I still my girlfriend. She managed to settle her case with OM when it came to child custody and finances. She could have been vengeful and taken him to the cleaners, but instead she handled that situation maturely. There is indeed some friction between the children over all this. We are trying to deal with it as best as possible. We have had to start their therapy to make sure that they properly adjust and understand that the relationship other betrayed spouse and I have as little bearing on them, but we do consider them important when it comes to how this situation is handled. This is extremely hard because not everyone is on board. My daughter, my ex, and OM do not like being around each other. I genuinely think both of them blame the other for how things turned out, and I'm not kidding here. There is tension when those two are in close proximity to each other. My ex-SL wants a second chance and is probably angry that other betrayed spouse ice in the way of me seeing things clearly and not throwing away all we have indefinitely. This woman is so deluded. I'm genuinely worried about her antics. She tried something at a 4th of July party a friend of mine threw. I shut it down, but I guess not firmly enough. I did not believe the people that said she would be pinning for me, but you guys were right. She wants to come crawling back in a bad way. Other betrayed spouse: I letting me handle that, but she's getting sick of my ex. Did I mention my ex hates other betrayed spouse with a passion? I really thought that my ex was changing herself for the better, but ever since I left her, asked for someone else, she's been a train wreck. That's what I still don't get. I treated her better than treated anyone else in my life, and she treated me like crap, but the moment I basically say F you, she doing backflips trying to get my attention. I don't know whether it's something I should be angry about. Well, there you have it. Y'all can rest easy now. I am worried about my daughter. Hi all, I am not new to Reddit, but I am new to this sub. I've actually been looking around for good sources to deal with the situation I'm in. Feel free to check my history to get a better background, but I'll summarize it here for you all. My ex-wife had an affair. It spanned on for approximately 2 years. During this time, my ex-wife was kind of abusive towards me and compared me to our OM a lot. Our sex life was worse than it was before, and I initially took all the blame for my shortcomings. Once I discovered the affair, I didn't immediately have a plan to leave her, but it slowly came to pass. One weekend when she left to have fun with OM and lied to me about it, I reached out to other betrayed spouse, and we worked together to divorce our respective spouses. During this process, the affair was disclosed to our children in an age-appropriate manner. Mommy broke a promise to daddy type of talk. No details, just we were going our separate ways, but we still love them very much. They took it as well as anyone in this situation would hope, but of course didn't want the divorce to happen, which is also completely understandable. My ex-wife had been insistently pushing for reconciliation, but it wasn't in me to give her another chance. I forgave her, understood it wasn't about me, and wanted to be done with the relationship. The closer divorce came to being finalized, it was very costly, but the financial damage wasn't too great. I also need to mention that shortly after the divorce, other betrayed spouse and I slowly started a relationship. At first it was akin to FWB, but now it's a lot more serious. If it wasn't for us supporting each during the fallout of the affair, I think I might very well still be with my cheating ex. That or killed myself. Half joking. Anyway, I talk to my kids all the time to understand how they're dealing with this. I try to make sure our conversations are open, and if they dislike my relationship with OBS, they can tell me so, and I would not be Offended because I don't want to put them in a situation that will mess them up in the future. My son 10 loves OBS. My daughter prefers a little more time adjusting to the new dynamic. She's 15. She says she wants to see me happy and doesn't want to interfere with my relationship with other betrayed spouse because it's not her place. I told her that I want her to be happy too. If she doesn't like other betrayed spouse often she can say so. And I won't mind. She says she's fine with other betrayed spouse and just needs some time. We have had many discussion with them about healthy relationships. I've had many discussion with my daughter about her fears and worries. So far she seems pretty supportive of me. Do other betrayed spouse and I are very discreet with our relationship so as not to overwhelm all the kids involved, my son, daughter, and her 2 daughters. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is in therapy, even separate issue altogether. As you can tell, this is indeed a bizarre situation, which leads me back to my daughter. The fallout of the affair and decisions made have definitely straying the relationship she has with her mother. She openly tells me that she hates her because if it wasn't for what she did, none of this would have happened. She is extremely rebellious. When it comes to her mother, she sulks. When it's her mother's turn to take her, she brushes off her mother attempts at affection. She even cursed at her once, which resulted in me stepping in and telling to be respectful, which she did follow. In that incident, there have been arguments between the two, and it worries me a lot that my daughter is affected in such a severe manner. The ex-wife is trying to deal with it as best as she can, but there is so much she can do on her own. She wants my assistance in reestablishing a relationship with her daughter because it was my decision to divorce. I could throw her cheating in her face. It was her fault. I am above that, but it puts a lot of doubt on how I handled this situation. Things to list that I'm worried about. Daughter has no respect for her mother. Daughter wishes things could go back to before. She doesn't know her mother abused me. Daughter is in therapy, but I don't know how well that's helping her. I am worried that she feels she has no voice and no control over the situation, therefore overwhelmed. She has handled my relationship with other betrayed spouse well, but I am worried she is hiding her emotions. I feel like I might have screwed up my kids' lives by divorcing their mother, not going back to that toxic person, though any advice is highly appreciated. Update: I know you guys were worried about me. Hey all, yes, I've seen your inboxes and chat requests. Sorry for not responding. I'm not active anymore here, but I'm very much aware that there are people who have been trying to check in on me and my situation. I'll ease your worries with this update. Be warned, this isn't a happily ever after here. Let's start off with the big elephant in the room. How are other betrayed spouse and I doing? Actually fantastic. If I knew a woman like her was out there earlier, I would have hunted her down years ago. LOL. All jokes aside, I've never had a stronger relationship with any woman besides her. Because my ex-wife put me through the ringer so much, I had little clue what a healthy relationship looked like. I still doubted myself, but other betrayed spouse has helped me through this and is a phenomenal partner. I'm very much in love with this woman. She has shown me time and time again that I mean a great deal to her, and I feel the same way towards her. Nothing more than a girlfriend, though I'm still doubtful of the whole idea of marriage. We're still doing things privately and involving the children as little as possible in the whole relationship thing, but yes, the kids know we're dating. As for the kids, it was a bit of a rough start. Who am I kidding? But they are getting along really well now. I think it mostly has to do with us being heavily involved in their lives and making sure they had an ear to talk to whenever they had problems. Also lots of therapy. My daughter and son love other betrayed spouse do bits. She has a way with kids. Her children like me a hell of a lot more than almost 2 years ago. Her youngest even started telling people that I'm her stepdad at functions and outings I took her to, which greatly surprised me. I was worried she felt forced to see me that way, but she said she liked me a lot, and I make her mom happy, so she's happy I'm her stepdad. You don't know how emotional I got after hearing that. Hit me like a ton of bricks from out of nowhere, but I did put up a valiant front. I like seeing my kids happily playing with OBSs, although they formed a united front to relentlessly tease my son, who is the only boy and youngest of the bunch. No idea if I should laugh or cringe at that one. So how about my cheating ex-wife? We are on good terms. She has been working really hard on her own to repair her relationship with her daughter, and I was happy when my daughter told me she could find it in her heart to forgive her mother for what she did. They have been through a lot these years and have progressed well together. Even with that, I don't think my ex-wife has fully accepted that we are done as a couple. She still seems to be looking for her, hinting at a second try. She's been going to the gym and still attending individual therapy. Overall, she seems much healthier now, but I don't really care. I've made peace with the past. It's her problem for not doing the same. She talks more with other betrayed spouse now, which is reciprocated, but other betrayed spouse regularly regards her with skepticism, which she should, given all that's happened. Is a lost, cause I didn't realize what a mess the guy would be. All that money and no brains. He has a girlfriend now, but his kids despise her and are very open about it. It took me Some time to see how full of himself the dude was. To be honest, I don't like his girlfriend either. She comes off as extremely materialistic, selfish, and callous towards the girls. So to conclude, we are doing better than okay. Don't get me wrong, I had my doubts if this was the right path, but with a lot of effort from the people involved, it's turning out splendidly. No happily ever after, just really happy now. Well, there you have it, y'all can rest easy now.